The new topics we are going to talk about today is ratio and proportion. The first video, I'm going to talk about the meaning of ratio and proportion. Then I will see how they are linking to each other. Then I will show you two typical ways to solve ratio word problems and distinguish them into two types. Then the third video, we will have a look at how the ratio is used in the various topics and classify the ratio word problems in terms of map scale, enlargement of shape, converting units, and recipe. In the final session, we will cover challenging ratio word problems. The ratio topic will be linked to direct and inverse proportion later on, but it won't be covered this time. Okay, now let's talk about the meaning of a ratio. What is ratio? Yes, ratio is relationship between different amounts. That means there is a quantity of something that you compare to the quantity of something else. So for example, look at the picture. So we have pears and apples. So what is the ratio of pears to apple? That means we're comparing the number of pears to number of apple. So ratio pear to apples, we can see every 3 pears there are 6 apples. So ratio pears to apples is 3 to 6. So there are different ways to write ratio out. So we say 3 to 6 and we use column to write ratio 3 to 6, and also we can express ratio into fraction as well. Now, like a fraction, we can also simplify ratio. So, for example, as we know the ratio of pear to apple here is 3 to 6, then simplify ratio using common factors of 3 and 6. So we divide both parts by 3, then we can have 1, 2, 2. Then we divide it until we can't divide it anymore. So 1 to 2 and 3 to 6 are equal because every 3 pear there are 6 apples, and this is the same as every 1 pear there are 2 apples. Now let's practice simplifying ratio using different ratios. Now we've got a 10 to 2. Then think about the common factors. So let's divide by 2. Then we've got a 5 to 1. Then 6 to 72. So let's begins with a 3. Divide by 3. We've got a 2 to 24. Then we can simplify again by 2, right? So 1 to 12. Then what times table can you think of? Great, it's 11 times table, so we can divide both parts by 11. That is 11 to 2. So simplifying ratio is very easy, like you simplify your fraction. Now this is a more trickier part to simplify more difficult ratio. So in ratio you can see decimals, fractions, and different units. So you can't have this. Whenever you see decimals, fraction, you change this into a whole number. That whenever you see different units, you unify your units. So here you've got 6 to 1.5. So change the decimal into whole number by times by 10. So 1.5 you times by 10. That means you need to times 10 to the other part of your ratio as well. You can have 15 and you can have 60, right? So your ratio is 6 to 15. Then you can simplify the numbers. Divide by 5. So both parts divide by 5, you can get 12 to 3. And then you need to simplify until you can't simplify anymore. So divide by 3. So you have 4 to 1. Then how about the ratio with the fractions? So you need to times both fraction by lowest common multiples. In that way, you can get your whole number. Now let's see the lowest common multiples of 2 and 4 is 4. So you times 4, then you can get 2 to 3. So your ratio is 2 to 3. Then let's move on to the next one. Then you've got different units. You've got millimeter and centimeter. So you can't have a different units. So let's change centimeter to millimeter. So 25. Then 5 centimeter is 50 millimeter, that you can simplify it. Yeah, divide by 25 directly, then you can get 1 to 2. Now we know how to simplify ratios, and let's find the equivalent ratios. So you simplify your ratio, then see which ratios are the same. Now first, different units. So unify your unit. Meter, 1 meter. Yes. So you've got 40 centimeter and 1 meter. You make it into 100. Then we can divide both parts by 20. Then I've got 2 to 5. We can't divide both number anymore. So this is our ratio. Then we've got 1/5 to 1/2. So fractions. So let's make it into whole number. Times by its lowest common multiples. That is 10. So 10 times 1/5, 10 times half. That gives you 2 to 5, right? Oh, yeah, we can see that both ratios are the same. So now we found our equivalent ratios. These are all 2 to 5. So let's have a look at the other ratios. Now, let's divide both parts by 40. Then you've got a 5 to 1. 5 to 1, and you've got a decimal. Let's make it into whole number. Times it 10, and you need to times 10 to the other part. That gives you 10 to 2, and then simplify it. Yeah, divide by 2, then it gives you 5 to 1. Then 5 to 1, we can say both ratios are equivalent. Now, we've been talking about the meaning of ratio so far. But what is proportion? Proportion simply means when two ratios are equal to each other, that is a proportion. So let's have a look at the picture. Then you've got a number of boys and number of girls. Let's find the ratio of boys to girls. Now, first one, you've got every 3 boys, there are 6 girls, so it's a 3 to 6. And then second picture, every 1 boy, there are 2 girls. The ratio of boy to girl is 1 to 2. Then we know that we can simplify the ratio 3 to 6 by dividing by 3, that it can be 1 to 2. Then we know that every 1 boy, there are 2 girls. So we can say both ratios are equal to each other, and this is a proportion. So we usually write proportion as a fraction. So 3 to 6 is 3 out of 6, and 1 to 2 is 1 out of 2. So this is a proportion because most of the case there are half as many boys as girls. So the proportion is 1/2. So now let's find the proportion. You've got 2 ratio, and then we need to check whether both ratios are equal to each other. So you've got 1 part, 1. Now 1 became 8. Then it increased by 8 times. That means the other part need to be increased by 8 times. So 3 times 8, that is 24. And then let's double check with the fraction. So you've got 1/3, and then the other part as a fraction is 8/24. So 8/24 is equal to 1/3. That's why this is a proportion. Now, okay, you've got 2 ratios and they are the same. Let's see, 1 became 4. You times 4. That you need to times 4 the other part of the ratio as well. Then 25 times 4 is 100. So let's make a fraction to double check with it. Now 1/25 equals 400. Then we can simplify into 1/25. So these are the equivalent fraction. That's why they are proportion. Now let's find the missing numbers in an equivalent ratio. So we already practiced. So 1 part of the ratio 12 became 4. What did you do? Yeah, we divide it by 3. Then we need to do the same thing. So we divide 3 into 15. That gives you 5. Then let's double check with making fractions. So we've got 12/15. That is equal to 4 missing parts. Then we divide the fraction by 3, then it gives you 4/5. That's why the missing part is 5. Now let's check the other one. We've got a 7 became 56 times by 8. So our answer is 10 times 8 gives you 80. Then let's subtract with the fraction. Again, 10 sevenths. You can times 7s by 8. Then you have your new numerator. That is 80. Now, how about this one? Oh, I think it's simple. I times 2 and then I times 2 again and I get 14 as the answer. Am I right? Do you think 14 is the right answer? No, I made a mistake. Can you spot my mistake? Great job! I didn't match the right part. It's very important. Ratio, the order is really important. I need to match with the first part to first part. That is 7 to 10. Then I need to check with the 5 to the second part and second part. But still, it's quite tricky. What number should I times or divide to make 7 into 10? Not sure. Then I'm gonna make it into fraction. So my fraction is 7/5 and 10. Missing number? Still don't know. And now I'm gonna introduce you a cross method. If you really hard to find what number you need to times and what number you need to divide by, then use the cross method. Cross method means you actually draw the cross between the fraction. You've got any equivalent fraction, then draw the cross, then times the both end, they brings you the same amount. So the unknown number times 7 equal to 5 times 10. Now, unknown number, let's use the inverse operation. Then you've got 50, then times 7, so it becomes divided by 7. Then you can get your answer. So your missing number is 50 out of 7. That gives you, so your missing value is 7 and 1/7. So let's try one more. Then again, you need to match the first one to first one, then second one to second one. Then 15 became 8. Always quite tricky. So let's use, cross method. The 3/15 equal to the sum 8. Now, cross method, I think we can simplify it. Then use the cross method. So draw the cross, then times the both end. Missing value times 5 equal to 1 times 8. Now, the missing value equals, the times 5 is divided by 5, right? So your answer is 8 divided by 5. 8 divided by 5, that is 1 3/5. Okay, we've been talking about the meaning of ratio and proportion. Then ratio is simply like a fraction, but instead of showing what part of something you have, ratio shows relationship between different two things. Now, remember the meaning of ratio and proportion. Then I will see you next session. Bye!